it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be talking about my winter reading guide. So I started doing these seasonal reading guides in fall of 2016, and then I forgot to do winter, but then I picked it up again in the spring, but now I'm getting to winter. Basically, the premise of these videos is that I'm very much a mood reader, so in certain seasons, I like to read certain genres and certain things. So in the winter time, I really like to read historical fictions and intense epic fantasy. So this video is me recommending to you guys books that I think are perfect for the winter season, but I also am going to do a second video where I talk about my winter TBR. So this list was actually quite hard for me to come up with, but I think I have a good group of titles to talk about today, so let's just dive in. So I'm going to start off with the historical fiction, which is where I struggled the most actually to come up with titles for you, which was kind of surprising to me. I don't know if I just like forgot about a bunch of historical fictions that I've read or what, but I do have some for you. So these first two are by the same author, and that is Raasch, and the books are Salt to the Sea and Between Shades of Grey. So both of these are set during World War II. They are incredibly powerful stories. This one is actually becoming a movie, which is amazing, but it is set in basically a concentration camp, and it is such a powerful but intense read. It doesn't sugarcoat anything, which I think is what made it really beautiful, and I just absolutely adored this story and cannot wait for the movie. This one follows the perspective of, I think, 4 or 5 different characters as they are all trying to flee from Germany at the tail end of World War II. Both of these books are incredibly well researched. You can really tell that the topic is something that Raasch is passionate about and she educated herself on. It comes through in her writing, and her characters are ones that you just feel for and you wish that you could shield them from all the terrible things that are happening in these books, but they are beautiful stories and I highly recommend them. Now, I couldn't recommend historical fiction to you without talking about The Book Thief by Markus, which is one of my top favorite books in the entire world. This is such an incredibly powerful story and one of the books that made me fall in love with reading, and it is just honestly beautiful. It is incredible, and the writing of it is some of the best writing that I've ever read in my life, and I talk about it a lot, so I'm not going to say too much, but you should just read it if you are looking for a very powerful historical fiction. It's very much a story that not everyone gets into because the perspective kind of throws them off. It's told from the perspective of death, but I think that's where a lot of the power of the story comes from. So just give it a chance. Even if you don't like it, you will definitely be better for it. Next up is A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. This is a book that I believe I included in a fall reading guide, but it can really go both ways. So it's perfect for fall because it deals with witchcraft, which I think just makes me think of fall, but it's also perfect for winter because it is a Victorian set historical fiction, which is just, oh, I love Victorian era. And I felt like I had read more Victorian era books, but I couldn't really find any that I really liked, so I really don't know where they went or if I'm just making that up in my head. But especially the second book of this series is actually perfect for winter because the second book is set at Christmas time, so it is perfect. I think last year I read it right after Christmas, and I was very sad that I hadn't known it was set at Christmas because it would be a perfect Christmas read. I said Christmas 12 times in that sentence, but you get the point. Next is Prisoner of Night and Fog by Anne Blankman. This is one of the most unique historical fictions that I've ever read. Once again, this is set in World War II, which I feel like is just a really popular time period to write about because it's absolutely fascinating. Terrible, but fascinating. But this story centers on Gretchen, who is actually Hitler's niece. So throughout the story, she is starting to realize that he is not all that he seems, that he's actually a terrible person, and that's revealed to her, and she starts rebelling against him. This is such a powerful read, and I highly recommend that you give it a chance because it is awesome. And now the rest of the books on this list are all fantasies. So first of all is Book of 1,000 Days by Shannon Hale. This book was awesome. I've been talking about it a lot lately, but I did seriously really love it. This is told in a diary format, and the diary is from the lady's maid, and she is telling the story of her and her lady being stuck in a tower for 7 years. Dashti, the lady's maid, just had such a powerful voice, and it really came through and drove this story, and it was such a great read. I highly recommend it. Next up is The Crown's Game by Evelyn Skye. This is a book that surprised me with how much I really enjoyed it, and I feel like a lot of people have not been a fan of this book. I really liked it. It is all about these two people who are competing to be the Tsar's appointed magician. So it has tons of really cool magic in it, and I just felt like it was such an immersive read, which is perfect for winter because I like to read a good fantasy to escape the cold and the muck and all that stuff. Snow is pretty to look at, but then it gets all slushy and nasty and ugh. Next up is Hunted by Meagan. This is the perfect retelling to read in winter because it's a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and I mean, just look at that cover. Does that not give you winter vibes? I totally am messing up the white balance with that, but I'm sorry. Next is Snow Like Ashes by Sara Raasch. This follows this world where there are these kingdoms, and they are based on the seasons, and the kingdom of winter has been overtaken by the kingdom of spring, and this is following the remaining people from the kingdom of winter as they are trying to regain their kingdom and get their magic back. I feel like just the seasons and the fact that it's focusing on winter just really makes me feel like it's a perfect wintry read. It also is just a really great fantasy in general, and I really liked the whole trilogy. Next up is Long May She Reign by Rhiannon Thomas. This is another book that surprised me with how much I enjoyed it. It has a great heroine. She is the best. I really loved her, and she's very like analytically minded. She's into science, and she ends up finding herself on the throne after being like 23rd or something like that in line, but the entire court was poisoned and died, so she ends up being queen. And seeing her take that and take it in stride was awesome. This is more of a low fantasy, kind of more on a historical fiction side. There's not really a magical element to it. I think where the fantasy really comes into play is the fact that it is set in like an unknown world. But since it is a little bit historical fiction-y, since it's kind of like a medieval world, it's perfect either way. Next up is Frostblood by Ellie Blake. This is the first book in a trilogy, and it follows this world where basically everyone is Elsa. So they all have these frost powers, except the main character of this book has fire powers. So she is a fireblood as opposed to a frostblood, and she has been hiding that her entire life, but she ends up getting found out, and the book deals with the fallout. I think just like the Elsa powers, need I say more? That's very, very wintry. And my final recommendation is the Grisha Trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. Really, any of Leigh Bardugo's fantasies, Six of Crows, amazing. Like, Leigh Bardugo is my life. I love her so aggressively. That sounded creepy, but like she's such a great writer. I really enjoy her. But this is the original trilogy that is set in the Grisha universe, even though there is now Language of Thorns and then also the Six of Crows duology. But this is just the perfect fantasy to really escape into. It really takes you away to the Grisha universe, and you forget that you're actually sitting there like trying to keep warm because you feel like you were in the Grisha universe, and it's amazing. So really anything Leigh Bardugo, winter, perfect. Any season, perfect. So that is my winter reading guide. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that this helped you fill your bookshelves for this winter. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe. I put out new videos every Monday and Thursday, and you can also follow me on my social media. So I have Twitter, and my Twitter is @HalesInBookland, and I also have Instagram, and my Instagram is @HaileyInBookland. But all the information is down below for you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!